Welcome everyone. Let's begin our lesson for today by going over the learning goals and success criteria. First, what are we learning? We're learning how to understand complex numbers and how they are typically represented, how to plot complex numbers on the complex plane, how to find the conjugate of complex numbers, how to simplify complex numbers and perform mathematical operations on complex numbers, and how to recognize operations on complex numbers as transformations of the original complex number. How are we learning it? Through the Complex Transformations Part 1 notes and the Complex Transformations Part 1 assignment. When can we use this information? To determine the amount of voltage being used in your house at different times of the year. How do we know we learned it? By getting a score of 4 on the Complex Transformations Part 1 assignment. Now let's take a look at our agenda for today. We will begin by going over the learning goals and success criteria. While we do that, you'll fill out your Get It Started. Once you've completed your Get It Started, we'll go over it together and answer any questions that you may have. After that, we'll go over the Complex Transformations Part 1 notes, and then I'll give you time to complete the Complex Transformations Part 1 assignment on Desmos. Once you've completed the assignment, we'll go over it together and answer any questions that you may have. At the end of class, we'll go back over our learning goals and success criteria while you fill out your Before You Go. Your only homework for tonight is to continue working on the Reasoning with Complex Numbers study guide and any incomplete assignments that you may have. Let's take a look now at the Complex Transformations Part 1 notes. The notes begin with the learning goals and success criteria. Introduction to transformations. So we're going to look at z being some point on the Cartesian plane as 2 plus I. It says find the result of z plus 3 minus 2i. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 plus I and add it to 3 minus 2i. So I'm going to combine like terms. So I have 2 plus 3 and I minus 2i. So I just kind of rearrange it and then go ahead and bring them together. So 2 plus 3 is 5 and I minus 2i is negative I. So I get 5 minus I. And what we should notice as we go through this assignment is that this is a transformation of this one here. So just a reminder of the different types of transformations. A reflection is a flip over a line, so it's going to flip over. Translation is a slide, so we're going to take it and slide it around. Rotation means it spins, and dilation or scaling means that we're going to make it either bigger or smaller. So here's a reflection. So you can see here's our reflection. We have our triangle here, and it flips over and goes this way. We also have Simba here showing you what a reflection is as he looks into and sees himself in the water. Translation is a slide movement. So we have a triangle here and we slide it over and to the right and it becomes this one. Kind of like the players on Remember the Titans here that are sliding and moving around. Rotation, okay, is a spin movement. So we have our triangle here. If we spin it around, it becomes this one, kind of like Woody's head does right here. And dilation means we're going to get bigger or smaller. So we have a triangle here and it gets bigger, kind of like Bugs here, drinks the special stuff and becomes this big buff bunny. Now, here's what your assignment's actually going to look like today. So we're going to fill in this table. So we're given 3 different z's and we're asked to perform these different transformations on them. So in this one, we're going to add a vector. We're going to add something to it. In this one, we're going to subtract. We're going to multiply by 2. We're going to multiply by negative 1. We're going to multiply by negative 3. And we're going to take the conjugate. This is z bar here. So we're going to find the conjugate of each one. There's a video here that shows you how to plot complex numbers in Desmos, so you can go ahead and watch that video now. Let's talk now about how we can plot complex numbers on the coordinate plane using Desmos. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to desmos.com and we're going to click on Graphing Calculator. And notice it gives us a standard graph and we need to change this to become an Argand diagram. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the little wrench here, and for my x-axis I'm going to label that RE for real, and y-axis we're going to label that IM for imaginary. Now we have our real and imaginary axes. Now let's say we were trying to plot the point 3 plus 2i. So let's say that's what we're trying to plot. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to treat the first number, the real number, as our x, and the imaginary number, the number in front of the I, as our y. So what we would do is we'd go ahead and put it in parentheses. We put 3, because that's our x, and then our y, which is 2, comma 2. And then we can label it. And now we have a graph with, this is 3 and 2i on the complex plane. So that's how you graph and check your work for plotting complex numbers on the complex plane. There's also a video here that you can watch on complex transformations, so you can see how the shapes transform. So go ahead and watch that video as well. Let's take a look now at how we can check our work when working with complex transformations using Desmos. So we'll begin by going to desmos.com, and we're going to click here where it says Graphing Calculator. And it takes us to a page that looks like this. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to enter our original coordinates. And the way we do that, we're going to go here to where this little plus sign is. We're going to click on that, and we're going to click on Table. And notice it gives me an x1 and a y1, and I'm going to enter my coordinates. So let's say my first coordinate was 2 plus I. So I'm going to make that 2, and I, it's just one I, so that's 1. Now let's say my second one was 3 plus 2i. So that's 3 and 2. And let's say my third point was just I, so that's 0, 1. Just like that. And notice it forms these 3 points, and it's supposed to form some kind of a triangle. So in order to form the triangle, we're going to go ahead and type the word polygon, and then in parentheses, we're going to put x1, comma, y1. And notice now, it forms a triangle around those points. So there's my original triangle. Now from that, we need to figure out how we can transform this. So let's say that the transformation that we're going to be coming up with, that we're told to use, is 3 plus 2i. So now, what we can do is, we're going to go ahead and type in polygon again. So polygon of, and now we're going to go ahead and put in our coordinates. So it was x1, but now we're going to add 3 to it, because that's what we were told to do, plus 3, comma, y1, and we're adding 2 to that. So plus 2, and notice now, it graphs the same triangle, but now it is moved to the right and up. And let's say that the second one said we were going to multiply by 3. So if it was like 3z was the original. So all we would do here is we're going to take our x1, instead of it being x1, we're going to multiply it by 3. And our y1, we're going to take that and multiply it by 3 as well. And now we end up with the same triangle, just scaled up with 3 as a factor. So this is how we can check our work when using complex transformations using Desmos. Let's talk now about how to sign in to Desmos to complete your work. So what we're going to do is you're going to click on the link to go to the assignment, and it should take you to a page that looks kind of like this. And right here where it says sign in with Google, we're going to click there. It's going to pop up with our email accounts. You're going to click on your school email account, and it should already have you logged in because you should have already been logged in using Google Classroom. From there, I'm just going to click Start the Activity, and it will take me into the assignment and allow me to begin. So that's how you will log in to Desmos using Google. Let's take a look now at the Complex Transformations Part 1 assignment. Our assignment begins with the learning goals and success criteria. If we scroll down, there's a link here that takes us to the Desmos activity. Go ahead and click on that link. And it takes us to a page that looks like this. We'll go ahead and click Start the Activity. The activity begins with the learning goals and success criteria. We'll go ahead and click Next. And we're told to enter the points below into the table so that it will graph it for us. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So the first one, the real, is 2, and the imaginary is 1. So there's our first point. Now we'll do the second one, which is 2 and 4. And then the third one doesn't have a real, so it's 0 and 1. So there's our original triangle. So we created our original triangle using the table. Now we're going to go ahead and click Next. Now for the next one, we're going to take the original and transform it. So we're going to add 3 minus 2i to it. So we're going to add 3 to our reals. So our first one should be 3 plus 2 is 5. And our imaginary, we're going to go to the left 2. So 1 minus 2 is negative 1. So there's our first one. Then we'll do the second one, 2 plus 4i. So we should end up with 2 plus 3 is 5. And 4i minus 2i is 2i. So there's our next one. And then we started at 0 with our real, so now we're going to add 3. And then minus 2i, so I minus 2i is negative I. So we should end up with something that looks like this. Then we'll go ahead and click Next. We will do it again with this transformation. And we'll continue to do that with a series of transformations until we get to the end. And we're going to look at the different graphs that we drew. So this was our original here. And this is what it looked like after we transformed it. So what happened to it? Well, it didn't change size at all. It did slide to the right and down. So we're going to state the transformation. It is a translation. And then we'll click Next. And we'll do that for each of them until we get to the end. Once we get to the end, we'll go back to our Google form and click Next. This will take you to your Before You Go. Go ahead and fill out your Before You Go and then submit your work on Google Classroom.